Stop scrolling. Just listen. You were meant to hear this today. Welcome to my channel.
Chosen one, I need you to pause everything else and listen carefully. What I'm about to share is not for everyone. This message is urgent, and it is meant only for those who truly walk the divine path of God. If you are here by curiosity alone, this is not for you. But if you are a true follower, if your heart has been set apart, then understand this. This message reached you at the exact moment it was supposed to. Nothing about this timing is accidental. The blue light you saw was not random. It was not imagination. It was a signal. And that signal came because you are now being placed in charge. Something has shifted. Something has been activated. And by the end of this message, you will understand why your life cannot remain the same after today. I need you to stay with me till the very end, because what I will explain will bring clarity, peace, and strength to what you've been carrying silently for a long time. Before we continue, chosen ones, give a like to this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones so they don't miss their moment. And comment 777 in the comments to declare that you are aligned, aware, and ready to walk in what God has entrusted to you. Now listen carefully. This message is for you. Section 2. The blue light. Why it appeared and why it was not random. Chosen one, let me calm your mind first. What you experienced was not strange and it was not accidental. The reason it unsettled you is because divine signals don't arrive loudly. They arrive quietly, precisely, and personally. The blue light you saw did not come to shock you. It came to confirm something that was already happening inside you. God does not waste signals, especially not on those who are not meant to understand them. Many people see things. Many people feel things. But very few are given clarity without confusion. That is the difference. When the blue light appeared, it did not bring chaos. It did not bring fear. It did not bring darkness. It brought stillness, awareness, a pause in time. That is how you know it was not imagination. Imagination rushes. Divine signals settle. The blue light represents awareness before instruction. God often shows before he speaks, not because he is silent, but because you are being trained to discern without explanation. Chosen ones are not led the same way the crowd is led. The crowd needs constant noise. You are being taught to recognize meaning in silence. Now understand this clearly. The color was not random. Blue is associated with truth, authority, depth, and divine order. It is calm, but it is firm. It does not demand attention, yet it commands respect. That is why the signal did not frighten you. It aligned with who you are becoming. If this were psychological illusion, it would have left you restless. If it were imagination, it would have faded quickly. But instead, it stayed with you. Not visually, but internally. You kept thinking about it. You kept wondering why it felt important. That is how divine confirmation works. It doesn't shout, it anchors. Some of you questioned yourselves afterward. You asked, why me? That question itself is proof that your heart is still humble. God does not send signals to inflate ego. He sends them to prepare responsibility. The blue light was not about privilege. It was about readiness. Let me say something very clearly, and I want you to hear this without fear. God does not send signals when he is experimenting. He sends signals when a phase has ended and another has begun. You were not warned. You were informed. The reason it came without explanation is because explanation would have delayed your obedience. Some things cannot be explained first. They must be accepted first, then understood later. That is how spiritual authority is formed. You are not being asked to chase signs. You are being asked to recognize assignment. Another thing you must understand is this. Chosen ones often receive confirmation before instruction. The signal comes first so that when resistance appears, you do not panic. And resistance will appear. Not because you are wrong, but because authority disrupts patterns. If you noticed emotional shifts after the blue light, that was not coincidence. Awareness always rearranges the inner world before the outer world changes. God adjusts you internally before he allows external movement. Now let me address doubt gently. Doubt does not disqualify you. Fear does not disqualify you. Even hesitation does not disqualify you. What disqualifies people is ignoring what they were shown, and you did not ignore it. You are here now, listening, searching for understanding instead of dismissal. That is why this message reached you. The blue light was a signal of alignment. It marked a moment where your spiritual posture shifted from being guided to being trusted. That is why it felt subtle yet heavy. Not heavy in a negative way, but weighted with meaning. God does not overwhelm chosen ones, he equips them gradually. The signal was not the assignment itself. It was the confirmation that you are capable of carrying it. Some of you expected something dramatic afterward. A sudden change, a clear voice. But that expectation comes from misunderstanding divine communication. God does not always announce elevation. Sometimes he simply moves you into position and lets life reveal it. If you felt more observant afterward, that was intentional. If you felt more detached from noise, that was intentional. If you felt less interested in proving yourself, that was intentional. These are signs of authority forming quietly. The blue light also served another purpose. It separated you internally, not from people, but from dependence. You are being taught to rely less on reassurance and more on alignment. That is not loneliness. That is maturity. Chosen one, nothing about what you experienced was random. Random events do not leave lasting clarity. Random thoughts do not reshape perception. Random moments do not lead you back to divine instruction. You were shown something because you were ready to be shown, not because you demanded it. And here is the most important part. The signal did not come to scare you. It came to steady you. God knew what was coming next. God knew the weight you would carry. And before that weight arrived, he reminded you who is in control, not the world, not circumstances, not fear. You, not by your own power, but by trust given to you. This is why you must stop questioning whether it was real. The peace you felt afterward is your answer. The awareness you gained is your proof. The calm strength growing inside you is your confirmation. You were not being watched. You were being entrusted. And this was only the beginning. Section 3. Why God uses signals instead of words for the chosen. Chosen one, there is a reason God did not speak to you in sentences. There is a reason he did not explain himself. And there is a reason the message came as a signal instead of words. This is not because God is distant. It is because you are no longer being treated like a beginner. Words are for instruction. Signals are for those who already understand alignment. When God speaks in words, it is often to guide people who are still learning how to listen. But when God uses signs, impressions, or subtle confirmations, it means the foundation has already been built. You have already been trained through experience, pressure, patience, and endurance. Now you are being trusted to recognize meaning without being handheld. Chosen ones are not led the same way as the crowd. The crowd needs constant reminders, constant reassurance, constant explanation. But you are being shaped for responsibility, not comfort. And responsibility requires discernment, not dependency. Think about this carefully. If God explained everything to you in detail, your faith would become conditional. You would obey only when things made sense. But God is preparing you to move with confidence even when clarity unfolds gradually. That is why he gives signals instead of speeches. A signal invites awareness. A command invites reaction. God is not looking for reaction from you anymore. He is shaping composure. Another reason God uses signals is because words can be misunderstood, but alignment cannot. Words are filtered through emotion, memory, fear, and expectation. Signals bypass all of that. They speak directly to the spirit. That is why when the blue light appeared, you did not argue with it. You felt it. You received it. You didn't need to analyze it first. You recognized it before you understood it. That is maturity. Now understand something very important. Silence from God does not mean absence. Silence often means promotion. When a teacher stops explaining every step, it is because the student is ready to practice independently. God steps back not to abandon, but to observe growth. Some of you have been asking why prayers feel quieter lately, why emotions feel more stable, why dramatic spiritual experiences have slowed down. It is because you are no longer being awakened, you are being established. Signals are used when God wants to shift you from dependence to stewardship. Words, comfort. Signals, prepare. God knows that what He is placing you into cannot be sustained by emotion alone. It requires inner authority, calm judgment, and steady awareness. Words can excite you, signals ground you. That blue light was grounding. Another reason God avoids words with chosen ones is protection. Words can be repeated, signals cannot be copied. This experience was personal, tailored, meant only for you. Not everything God gives you is meant to be shared immediately. Some things are meant to anchor you privately before they manifest publicly. If God explained everything clearly, interference would come early. Opinions would confuse you. Doubt would enter through others. Silence protects assignment. Chosen ones are often misunderstood because they move without explaining themselves. That is intentional. Authority does not announce itself. It reveals itself through presence. Now let me address something that may have been bothering you. You may have felt slightly unsettled by not receiving verbal confirmation. That does not mean you are weak. It means you still care deeply about alignment. But understand this: God is not testing whether you can hear Him. He is testing whether you can stand without constant reassurance. There comes a point where God stops convincing you and starts trusting you. Signals are God saying, "You know what this means, act accordingly." And notice this: God did not ask you to do anything immediately. There was no rush, no urgency. That itself is a signal. When God wants to rush you, He speaks loudly. When He wants to steady you, He speaks quietly. The blue light did not push you forward. It positioned you inwardly. This is how leadership is formed in the Spirit. Not through noise, but through restraint. Not through excitement, but through awareness. You are being trained to lead yourself before you are allowed to influence others. Words create followers. Signals create leaders. You are not being prepared to echo messages. You are being prepared to carry responsibility. Another reason signals are used is because chosen ones operate across seasons. What God shows you today may not fully make sense until later. Signals allow meaning to unfold over time. Words lock interpretation too early. Signals stay alive. That blue light will reveal layers of understanding as you grow. What you understood today was only the first layer. More clarity will come, not through new signs, but through lived experience. This is why you must stop waiting for another confirmation. You already received it. Waiting again would only delay your growth. God does not repeat signals to convince. He repeats them only when people refuse to listen. And you listened. You didn't dismiss it. You didn't mock it. You didn't ignore it. You sought understanding. That tells me everything about your spiritual posture. Chosen one, God uses signals instead of words because He is no longer building belief in you. He is building trust through responsibility. He knows you are capable of carrying meaning without needing constant explanation. This is not a loss of intimacy with God. This is a deeper form of intimacy, one where communication happens through alignment, not noise. You are being treated as someone who can be trusted, and that is why the next phase will require calm strength, not excitement. Discernment, not reaction. Authority, not announcement. The signal came because you were ready to understand without being told. And now, something has already changed. You may not see it yet. Others may not recognize it yet, but heaven does, and that is enough. Section 4. The moment you were placed in charge, even if you didn't feel ready. Chosen one, let me speak to you plainly now. The moment you saw that blue light, something shifted in the spiritual order around you. Not dramatically on the outside, but decisively on the inside. That was the moment you were placed in charge, even though no one announced it, and even though you may not have felt prepared. God does not wait for you to feel ready. He waits for you to be capable, and capability is built quietly, through pressure, endurance, and obedience when no one was watching. Most people assume being in charge means having control over others. That is not how divine authority works. Being in charge means being entrusted with yourself first, your thoughts, your reactions, your emotions, your discipline. God never gives outward authority to someone who has not learned inward order. That is why this assignment did not come with applause. It came with weight. If you felt a sense of seriousness after that moment, that was not fear. That was responsibility settling in. Authority always arrives heavier than excitement. Excitement fades. Responsibility stays. Some of you expected to feel powerful. Instead, you felt sober, grounded, more aware. That is because God does not intoxicate chosen ones with power. He steadies them with understanding. Let me say something important. Feeling unready does not mean you are unqualified. It means you respect the weight of what has been entrusted to you. Arrogance feels ready. Wisdom feels careful. God does not choose the loudest. He chooses the most reliable. Think back over your life for a moment. You have been prepared for this longer than you realize. Every season of isolation, every misunderstanding, every delay, every time you had to stand alone without explanation. None of that was wasted. Those were not punishments. Those were training grounds. People who are meant to carry authority are often denied comfort early, not because God is cruel, but because comfort weakens discernment. You were shaped to stay steady when reassurance was absent. That is why you can now carry responsibility without collapsing under it. Being placed in charge does not mean everything suddenly becomes easy. In fact, it often means things become quieter. Authority does not rush. Authority observes. Authority discerns before acting. If you felt less impulsive after that moment, that was intentional. God slows chosen ones down before he moves them forward. Speed is dangerous when authority is fresh. Another thing you must understand is this. God does not promote based on potential. He promotes based on character under pressure. You were placed in charge because you proved you could remain aligned even when things didn't make sense. And notice this, no one around you may have changed. Circumstances may look the same. That is because your promotion was internal first. God always changes the vessel before he changes the environment. You are now being trusted with decisions that shape your future trajectory, even if they seem small right now. The way you respond to people, the way you handle silence, the way you choose peace over reaction. These are all expressions of authority. Being in charge means you no longer react emotionally to everything. You respond intentionally. This is why some of you may have noticed a growing distance between you and unnecessary drama. You didn't force it, it just stopped pulling you. That is authority detaching you from distractions that can no longer access you. God does not place people in charge of others until they have mastered restraint. Power without restraint is destruction. Authority with restraint is leadership. You may have expected God to give you instructions immediately, but instead, he gave you stillness. That is because stillness reveals how grounded you truly are. Anyone can act when told. Few can stand steady without instruction. This phase is about composure. You are learning to carry responsibility without anxiety, to hold awareness without paranoia, to move with intention without urgency. That is the posture of someone in charge. let me address something that may be quietly troubling you. You may be thinking, if I'm in charge, why do I still feel uncertain sometimes? That uncertainty is not weakness. It is humility keeping you aligned. God does not remove humility when He gives authority. He deepens it. Authority that lacks humility becomes control. Authority rooted in humility becomes stewardship. You are not meant to dominate. You are meant to govern wisely. And here is something very few people understand. Being in charge spiritually often means being unseen for a while. Visibility comes later. Trust comes first. God hides leaders before He reveals them, so they don't confuse attention with assignment. If you are still in a quiet season, that does not mean your authority is inactive. It means it is being refined. The blue light did not activate noise, it activated responsibility. From this moment forward, you will notice that certain choices feel heavier, not because they are dangerous, but because you are more aware of their impact. That is authority sharpening your discernment. You are no longer drifting. Even when you pause, you are positioned. You may not feel powerful, you may not feel extraordinary, but you will feel steady. And steadiness is the foundation of leadership in the Spirit. God did not ask if you felt ready because He already knew you were capable. Readiness is emotional. Capability is proven. You were placed in charge not because you demanded it, but because you were faithful when no one noticed. And now, whether you feel it fully or not, you are being held to a higher standard, not by people, by alignment. That is why shortcuts will no longer satisfy you. That is why false comfort will feel empty. That is why your conscience feels sharper. These are not burdens, these are marks of trust. Chosen one, authority does not shout. It settles, it grounds, it steadies. You are not being rushed, you are being positioned. And even if you don't feel ready yet, understand this clearly. God never places someone in charge and then abandons them. He stays close. He watches quietly. He guides subtly. And He trusts you to stand. Section 5. Signs you've been operating in authority without realizing it. Chosen one, here is something many never realize until much later. Authority does not arrive with an announcement. It reveals itself through patterns that quietly change inside you. Long before you recognize the blue light as a signal, you were already operating in authority. You just didn't have language for it yet. Let me help you see what has been happening. One of the clearest signs is this: you no longer react the way you used to. Things that once pulled you into emotional storms now pass through you with less impact. You still feel, you still care, but you don't spiral. That is not numbness. That is regulation. And regulation is authority in motion. Another sign is restraint. You often know what you could say, but you choose silence. Not because you are afraid, but because you are aware of consequences. People without authority speak to release emotion. People with authority speak to shape outcomes. If you've noticed yourself pausing more, measuring more, choosing peace more often, that is not weakness. That is leadership forming quietly. You may also have noticed that certain environments feel heavier now. Places you once tolerated suddenly drain you. Conversations that revolve around gossip, ego, or chaos feel exhausting. That is because authority carries sensitivity, not fragility, but discernment. Your spirit now recognizes what aligns and what does not. This is why isolation found you before you asked for it. Authority often arrives wrapped in distance, not punishment, protection. God pulls leaders away from noise so they don't mistake attention for purpose. Another sign is that people respond to you differently, even if they can't explain why. Some feel comforted by your presence, others feel challenged by it. Authority does that. It stabilizes some and unsettles others. Not because you changed outwardly, but because your inner posture shifted. You may have noticed people opening up to you unexpectedly, sharing things they don't normally share. That is not coincidence. Authority creates safety. When you carry calm strength, others sense it subconsciously. At the same time, some people may have drifted away, not through conflict, but through quiet separation. That happens when authority grows. Those who rely on chaos feel uncomfortable around stability. Another sign is how you handle temptation now. Things that once distracted you no longer satisfy you. Not because they disappeared, but because your standards changed. Authority raises the cost of compromise. You feel it instantly now. That inner check is not restriction, it is governance. You are being led internally instead of externally. You may also notice that you recover faster. When something hurts you, it doesn't take as long to regain balance. That is authority regulating emotional cycles. You still experience pain, but it doesn't control you. And let me say this clearly. Authority does not make you superior. It makes you responsible. That is why pride feels uncomfortable to you now. You may notice guilt or discomfort when ego tries to rise. That is alignment protecting you. Another sign is how you approach decisions. You no longer rush. You observe first. You sense outcomes before acting. This is not overthinking. This is discernment sharpening through experience. Some of you have wondered why you feel less interested in proving yourself. That is because authority does not need validation. Validation is a craving of insecurity. Authority moves quietly because it knows its place. Even your prayer life may have changed. Fewer words, more stillness, less begging, more listening. That is not spiritual decline. That is maturity. You are learning communion instead of performance. Authority also shows up in how you handle conflict. You don't seek to win, you seek resolution or distance. You understand that not every battle is worth engaging. That wisdom only comes when responsibility outweighs ego. You may also feel a stronger sense of accountability now. Your conscience speaks louder. You feel unsettled when you move out of alignment. That is not condemnation. That is leadership discipline forming internally. Another sign is emotional clarity. You can identify what you feel without drowning in it. You can name emotions without becoming them. That separation is powerful. That is self-governance. Authority also brings patience. Not passive waiting, but strategic patience. You understand timing better now. You feel when something is premature. You don't force doors. You wait for alignment. This is why you may feel more selective with your energy. You give it where it matters. You withdraw it where it is wasted. That is not selfishness. That is stewardship. Some of you may have noticed that chaos no longer excites you. Drama feels loud. Urgency feels unnecessary. Peace feels productive. That is authority recalibrating your nervous system. Let me tell you something important. Authority is not loud confidence. It is quiet certainty. It is knowing who you are without needing to announce it. You were operating in authority long before you recognized the signal. The blue light did not create authority. It confirmed it. And this is why the confirmation felt calm instead of overwhelming. Authority had already been forming. God simply acknowledged it. Chosen one, if you see these signs in yourself, do not dismiss them. Do not downplay them, but also do not become obsessed with them. Authority grows best when it is respected, not displayed. You are not meant to analyze yourself endlessly. You are meant to stay aligned. The fact that you are here, listening carefully, seeking understanding instead of attention, tells me everything. Authority is already active within you. You didn't force it. You didn't chase it. You didn't claim it loudly. You carried yourself into it. And now that you see it, the next phase will require even more steadiness, not more effort, more awareness. Because when authority becomes conscious, responsibility deepens, and you are ready for that. Section 6. Why resistance increased after the blue light appeared. Chosen one, if you noticed resistance rising after the blue light appeared, let me settle your heart right now. That resistance was not a warning that something went wrong. It was confirmation that something was activated. Resistance does not respond to imagination. It responds to authority. Nothing pushes back against what has no impact. The reason resistance increased is because alignment disrupts old patterns. When you shift internally, the systems around you feel it, not consciously, energetically, emotionally, spiritually. Authority alters the atmosphere before it ever changes circumstances. This is why things may have felt heavier instead of lighter at first. Authority always creates friction before it creates flow. You are stepping into a posture that no longer fits comfortably with compromise, distraction, or emotional excess. And when those things lose access to you, they react. Let me explain this carefully. Resistance does not always come externally. Sometimes it shows up as fatigue, mental fog, sudden doubt, loss of motivation, emotional sensitivity. These are not signs of failure, they are signs of recalibration. When responsibility increases, your inner system adjusts to carry it. Some of you questioned why clarity came with pressure. That is because clarity removes excuses. Once you are aware, you can no longer operate unconsciously. Awareness demands alignment, and alignment requires energy. This is why the resistance felt internal at times. You weren't being attacked. You were being reshaped. Another reason resistance increased is because authority threatens old identities. Parts of you that survived on urgency, people-pleasing, or overthinking no longer have purpose. And when identities lose relevance, they resist being released. This is why you may have felt emotional fluctuations without obvious reasons. That wasn't instability. That was old coping mechanisms dissolving. Authority removes crutches. You may have also noticed distractions increasing. Not dramatic temptations, but small interruptions. Restlessness, procrastination, noise. These are not coincidences. When authority activates, focus becomes valuable. And anything that thrives on distraction will attempt to reclaim your attention. But notice this. Those distractions did not overpower you. They annoyed you. That is an important difference. Authority doesn't get destroyed by resistance. It becomes aware of it. Some of you also felt misunderstood during this time. People may have questioned your distance, your calm, your lack of reaction. That misunderstanding is common. Authority changes your frequency, and not everyone adjusts comfortably. But let me be clear. Resistance is not proof that you are under attack. It is proof that you are no longer passive. When you were drifting, nothing needed to stop you. When you became intentional, interference appeared. That is how growth announces itself quietly. Another form of resistance you may have experienced is impatience, wanting things to move faster, wanting clarity now, wanting confirmation again. That impatience is not rebellion. It is unused authority, learning restraint. God allows resistance to teach you self-regulation. You are learning to hold your ground without forcing outcomes. That lesson is essential for leadership. If everything moved smoothly immediately, you would mistake speed for alignment. Resistance teaches discernment. Now, let me address fear gently. Some of you felt a brief fear when resistance appeared. Not terror, just a question. Did I misunderstand? That question is not weakness. It is humility checking alignment. But notice this. You did not retreat. You did not abandon awareness. You stayed present. That is why resistance did not escalate. Authority responds to resistance with steadiness, not panic. Resistance also tests boundaries. It reveals what still has access to your emotions. That is not condemnation. That is information. You are being shown where to reinforce calm. Think of resistance as pressure testing, not punishment. Another reason resistance increased is because authority carries influence, even when unseen. Influence threatens chaos. Influence threatens disorder. Even quiet authority reorganizes environments over time. This is why your peace may have irritated some people, your silence may have unsettled others, not because you did anything wrong, but because authority exposes imbalance without effort. You may also have felt resistance in the form of self-doubt resurfacing briefly, old thoughts knocking again, not to defeat you, but to see if they still had permission, and you didn't entertain them for long. That is progress. Let me say this clearly. Resistance is temporary when authority is grounded. What determines its duration is not effort, but posture. When you remain calm, resistance loses leverage. God does not remove resistance immediately because resistance teaches containment. Leaders must be able to carry pressure without leaking energy. And notice this, the resistance did not come with confusion, it came with awareness. That means it was allowed, not uncontrolled. If God wanted to warn you, he would have shaken you. If he wanted to stop you, he would have blocked you. But instead, he steadied you. That tells you everything. The blue light did not create resistance. It revealed what could no longer coexist with your alignment. This is why some habits feel uncomfortable now. Some relationships feel misaligned. Some routines feel empty. That is not loss. That is realignment. Chosen one, do not fear resistance. Do not fight it aggressively. Observe it. Let it teach you where strength is being built. Authority grows strongest when it learns to remain unmoved. You are not being tested to fail. You are being trained to stand. And the fact that you are still calm, still listening, still present, tells me this resistance did not overpower you. It refined you. And that means the next phase will require less effort, not more. Because once resistance teaches discipline, authority moves with ease. You are not under threat. You are under preparation. And that preparation is almost complete. Section 7. How to walk forward now that you know you're in charge. Chosen one, now that you understand what happened, the question is not what you should do next. The question is how you should walk from here. Authority does not demand dramatic moves. It requires correct posture. If you try to rush forward, you will step out of alignment. If you freeze, you will delay growth. The path forward is neither haste nor hesitation. It is steadiness. The first thing you must understand is this. Being in charge does not mean doing more. It means moving with intention. Authority simplifies life. It removes unnecessary motion. If you feel drawn toward fewer words, fewer explanations, fewer reactions, that is not withdrawal. That is refinement. Walk forward calmly. Authority breathes differently. It does not gasp for results. It trusts process. One of the most important disciplines now is restraint. Not suppression. Restraint. You are learning when to speak and when silence protects alignment. You are learning when to act and when stillness accomplishes more than effort. This is not passivity. This is wisdom choosing precision over noise. Do not announce what you carry. Do not seek agreement from everyone. Authority does not require consensus to move correctly. It requires alignment with God and self-governance. The more you try to explain yourself, the more you dilute your clarity. Walk forward without defending your pace. Another thing you must do now is release urgency. Urgency belongs to fear. Authority belongs to timing. When God places someone in charge, he does not rush them. He trains them to wait without anxiety. If something is meant to happen, it will not miss you. Trust timing more than impulse. Your decisions now must come from awareness, not emotion. Before you move, pause. Not to overthink, but to listen internally. That quiet sense of rightness you feel when something aligns, that is your compass now. You don't need external validation the way you once did. This is why impulsive choices will feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not restriction. It is authority correcting course. Another key is consistency. Authority is maintained through small, steady alignment, not occasional intensity. Pray steadily, not dramatically. Reflect regularly, not obsessively. Show up calmly, not urgently. God values stability more than performance at this stage. You are no longer trying to be noticed by heaven. Heaven is already watching. Also understand this. Walking forward means allowing certain doors to remain closed. Not every opportunity is meant for you anymore. Authority narrows focus. It reduces options so energy is not scattered. If something feels off, do not force yourself to tolerate it out of politeness or fear. Respect your discernment. Some of you will feel tempted to go back to old patterns for comfort. Familiar stress, familiar chaos, familiar urgency. Resist that temptation gently, not through force, but through awareness. You have outgrown some environments. Returning to them will feel heavy now. That heaviness is guidance. Walking forward also means accepting responsibility for your inner state. You can no longer blame circumstances for emotional instability. Authority teaches emotional ownership. When you feel disturbed, you pause and recalibrate instead of reacting outwardly. This is not self-control through tension. This is self-governance through understanding. You must also learn to rest without guilt. Authority requires recovery. Constant activity weakens discernment. Rest sharpens it. If you feel drawn to quiet time, reflection, or solitude, honor that. That is not withdrawal from purpose. That is maintenance of alignment. God does not drive leaders into exhaustion. He teaches them rhythm. Another important thing, stop waiting for dramatic confirmation. You already received it. Chasing more signs will only create dependency. Trust what you were shown. Trust the calm strength growing inside you. Trust the clarity that remains even when emotions fluctuate. You don't need constant reassurance anymore. Walking forward also means allowing misunderstandings without immediate correction. Not everyone needs to understand you. Authority often allows silence to speak over time. When alignment is correct, explanation becomes unnecessary. Let your life communicate what your mouth does not. You may also notice that your influence increases quietly. People may seek your presence, your counsel, your calm. Do not let this inflate ego. Influence is stewardship, not entitlement. Carry it with humility. Remember, authority that demands recognition weakens itself. Authority that remains grounded strengthens over time. Another key is patience with yourself. You will not get everything right immediately. Growth continues even after authority is activated. Mistakes do not revoke assignment, they refine judgment. Do not punish yourself for learning curves. Walking forward also means staying anchored in faith without becoming rigid. Flexibility guided by truth is strength. Stubbornness driven by ego is not. Stay teachable. Stay observant, stay grounded, and above all, remain calm. Calm is your greatest strength now. Not excitement, not intensity. Calm awareness. When you walk into rooms calmly, authority speaks before words do. When you respond instead of react, authority governs outcomes. When you choose alignment over approval, authority deepens. You are not here to rush destiny. You are here to carry it well. So walk forward steadily. Stay aligned. Trust timing. Honor stillness. Move intentionally. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not confused. You are positioned. And as long as you remain grounded, nothing meant for you will miss you. This is how those in charge move. Quietly, confidently, in alignment. Section 8. Conclusion. Accepting the signal and standing firm. Chosen one, take a deep breath and let this settle. Nothing you experienced was accidental. Nothing you felt was imagined. The blue light was not meant to confuse you. It was meant to steady you. It was a signal, not of fear, but of trust. A reminder that heaven sees you, knows you, and has placed responsibility in your hands because you are capable of carrying it. You were not rushed into this. You were prepared for it. Every season that felt slow, every moment that felt unseen, every time you had to stand without explanation, those were not delays. They were foundations, and now you are standing on them. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to announce who you are becoming. Authority does not perform. It rests. And from that rest, clarity flows. From that clarity, peace grows. And from that peace, influence quietly expands. Remember this moving forward. You are not meant to panic when things are quiet. Quiet is where alignment deepens. You are not meant to doubt when resistance appears. Resistance is where strength is refined. You are not meant to rush when you feel responsibility. Responsibility is where leadership is formed. Stay calm, stay grounded, stay aligned. What God entrusted to you will unfold in the right order, at the right pace, without force. Your role is not to control outcomes. Your role is to carry yourself with awareness and faith. And before you go, chosen one, if this message resonated with you, give a like to this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones who need clarity right now. And comment 777 in the comments as a declaration that you accept the signal, you stand in alignment, and you are ready to walk forward with calm authority. Stay steady, stay faithful, and remember, you are exactly where you are meant to be.